Hello learners, I am Dr. Arsana Adhikari, Assistant Professor, Krishnakanto Handik State Open University, Assam, going to discuss Unit 11 from your Module 5 of your MOOCs course, School Management and Leadership. The unit is as entitled as Teacher as a Pedagogical Leader. So here we will discuss the concept of pedagogy. We will discuss the different aspect of pedagogy. So let's discuss the unit. So the first we will discuss about the concept of pedagogy. So as a teacher or as a layman, we all have heard the word pedagogy, but very few people know about the actual concept of pedagogy. So let's have the derivative meaning of the word pedagogy. So the word pedagogy had derived from the origin Greek word pedagog, which means teacher of the children. So the word pedagogy, which had been derived from Greek word pedagog, implies the meaning of teacher of the children. So as such, pedagogy implies teacher of the children or the student. So in general, pedagogy is the art as well as science of teaching. So what does it mean? It means it is the theoretical as well as practical aspect of teaching. It is the study of teaching method and the aims of education. It comprises a lot of areas. It comprises an extreme range of ideas, interest and question. And as a whole, it combines the philosophy of education and the psychology of education. So it means that it combines or it includes the values, ideas of education, as well as it is the practical application of education as it indicates the psychology, which is the behavioral aspect of education. Then we can mention some of the other aspect of pedagogy which will help you to grasp the idea in a better way. So it is mainly the theory and the practice about how the learners are influenced by it. So we know that in a classroom, the teacher usually impact or influences the learner or the student through some method or through some teaching aids or through the classroom interaction. So it basically indicates the application of theory and practice, and as such it helps us to know what are the integration of theory and practice and how it works to influence the learner. Then it considers the interaction that take place during the teaching and learning situation. So pedagogy is the interaction part of the classroom transaction, because we know that in a classroom the teacher has to interact, has to communicate with the student to make them understand, to make discuss about the particular or given topic. So it is the interaction that the teacher makes with the student. So pedagogy covers the teacher, student, teaching learning activities and the learning environment. So we can say that all the aspects that are touched by the teaching learning process are touched by the pedagogy. It refers to the set of instructional technique and strategies which enable learning and provides opportunities for acquisition of knowledge, skill and attitude. So we can say it as a set of instructional design or technique or skills. Pedagogy provides the true knowledge of teaching, which is achieved by practice and experience in the classroom. So without practice, we cannot realize or achieve pedagogy or cannot understand the real meaning of pedagogy. To understand the real meaning of pedagogy, we, the teacher, must practice it. There are some key features of pedagogy. So these key features will help us to know about pedagogy in a better way. So pedagogy can be simply understood as an art and a science of teaching as mentioned earlier. That means it includes both theoretical and practical aspect of teaching. To make it happen, to make it understand or to realize it, we must apply the theoretical aspect in a practical ground to make teaching meaningful and fruitful. Pedagogy is concerned with the method of teaching, subject of its curriculum, that means the content, and the school management. So how it is possible to connect pedagogy with school management? Because school management is essential to provide us to facilitate the teacher with all the facilities, to all the services that are required by the teacher to make his teaching learning process successful one. So pedagogy is concerned with the school management. It is concerned with the method of teaching, the way of teaching, a teacher adopt in the classroom, he apply in the classroom, all are concerned with pedagogy, or these are the part of pedagogy. The content which the teacher teaches in the classroom, which the teacher transact in the classroom as a knowledge provider, is concerned with the pedagogy. Then it is referred to as the correct use of teaching method and instruction. So many people can rename it or refer it as the application of teaching method and instruction. But in actual term, pedagogy is the correct use of teaching method and instruction. Because without pedagogical knowledge, a teacher cannot make proper interaction in the classroom. A layman can teach, but his teaching will not be fruitful. To make a classroom instruction fruitful, meaningful, it must have pedagogical knowledge. And it is the pedagogy which gives the teacher the knowledge of correct use of those teaching method, teaching aids, teaching strategies, and instruction. The content of pedagogy refers to the pedagogical knowledge, skill of teachers used to impart the specialized content of their subject area. So what it refers? It refers to the pedagogical knowledge, how to use this, and the skill of teacher to use it to impart the specialized content of their subject area. It refers to the profession of a teacher because it concerned with the professional ethics, commitment, and accountability. Without accountability, without ethics, without any devotion, a teacher cannot be a good teacher. A teacher cannot be a teacher which is a actual person engaged in teaching profession. So pedagogy is also concerned with the profession because it is linked with the professional ethics, commitment, and devotion, as well as accountability of the teacher. Then pedagogy intends to provide knowledge, expertise, and insight that result in effective learning. So it is the process which provide knowledge, experience, and insight that result in effective learning. That means it is the source which through which, or it is the process through which a teacher makes his teaching interesting one. Then there are some aspects of pedagogy that we must know or we must identify. There are basically three major aspects of pedagogical analysis or pedagogy. First one is pedagogical knowledge. Second is pedagogical practice, and third one is pedagogical belief. Now let's discuss this aspect in a more wider way. So the first one is pedagogical knowledge. So this is the knowledge aspect, and as a teacher we know that knowledge aspect is related to the cognitive domain of instructional objective. So this first aspect of pedagogical analysis is concerned with the cognitive domain. This aspect of pedagogy includes the following sub-components. So what are those? First one is content knowledge. It refers to the teacher's understanding of the academic material to be taught. So before going to deliver the content in a classroom, first the teacher must have the content knowledge. First the teacher must have the understanding of the content of the academic material that he or she is going to deliver in the classroom. Second one is pedagogical content knowledge. So it refers to the teacher's repertoire of technique designed to make academic subject accessible to students. What it involves? It involves the teaching method, teaching technique, teaching maxims, teaching aid, and the other aspects which are related to teaching. Then third one is evaluation of teaching learning. It refers to the assessment aspect. That means what the teacher have taught, what the teacher have delivered through application of different teaching method, teaching strategy, and teaching maxims and aids. He must assess it, he must evaluate it for the outcome. Then fourth one is professional knowledge of teacher. It includes teacher roles and responsibilities as well as duties and function. When the teacher impart or when the teacher delivers knowledge in the classroom, besides having the knowledge of different teaching aid, teaching method, teaching strategy, he must have the knowledge of the profession. Means he must abide by those roles and responsibilities of his particular profession. Then the second aspect is pedagogical practice. It refers to the doing aspect or the skill aspect, and we all know that doing and skill aspect is related to the psychomotor domain of the educational objective or instructional objective. There are some component or some sub-themes under this particular aspect. What are they? First one is presentation of content in logical sequence. When the teacher delivers lecture or delivers or impart the academic content in the classroom, he must present it in a logical sequence. He must present it in a sequence way so that the student understand it with a better and in better way. The second one is effective and intelligent use of teaching method. Mere use of teaching method is not a good sign of a good teacher. The teacher must have the intelligent knowledge, or he or she must use it in an intelligent way, because too much use of too many methods in one classroom is not applicable and not scientific too. So he must have proper and intelligent use of those methods in a right way, in a right direction. Then use of teaching technique and maxims. We all know that there are some maxims that a teacher has to follow in the classroom while delivering the academic content. So pedagogical practice helps the teacher to make effective use of those technique and maxims. Then use of teaching aid and technique of motivation. Mere use of teaching aid and teaching method for teaching or delivering lecture is not enough. The teacher has to make use of teaching aid and technique to motivate the student towards the class or towards the academic theme. Then another component of this pedagogical practice is use of teaching skill and language skill. Yeah, language skill is very important for teaching in a particular classroom because it impacts the communication. To make proper communication, to ensure an effective communication, the teacher must use a balancing use of teaching skill and language skill. Then verbal and non-verbal interaction to generate social and emotional climate in the classroom. The school climate and the classroom climate implies the socio-emotional environment of the classroom, which is very essential and prominent factor for an effective classroom transaction. So, the pedagogical practice help the teacher to make use of effective verbal and non-verbal interaction. Then effective communication in the classroom. The communication is must, but it must be effective. It must be ideal and it must be motivative. Then code of conduct in terms of dress and address. We all know that as a teacher, as a member of teaching professional, the teacher must abide by some code of conduct. He or she must abide by some rules that are governed by the particular profession. So, the teacher must follow some rule or code of conduct which are not against the profession, which help him rather to attract the student and to make the classroom more interesting and motivating, because students are the great followers of the teachers. Then third one is pedagogical belief. So pedagogical belief is related to the feeling aspect, which is related to the affective domain of instructional objective. So besides having the knowledge aspect and skill aspect, the teacher, while transacting in the classroom, must also follow the affective or feeling aspect, or what we call as pedagogical belief. It includes some component, and those are: first one is devotion in teaching. To be a good pedagogical leader or pedagogical practitioner, the teacher must be devoted to teaching. Without devotion, without commitment, the teacher cannot transact properly with accountability. Then second one is involvement in teaching. The teacher mere teaching or mere using a blackboard and mere making simulation in the classroom is not a sign of good teaching. The teacher must really engage or involve in the teaching process. Then commitment in teaching. The teacher must committed to teaching, and pedagogical belief ensures this skill or this particular quality of a teacher in teaching, commitment in teaching. Then accountability in teaching. The teacher must be accountable for his teaching. Whatever the teacher impart in a classroom, it should be bright because he is accountable for it. Because students once gather it, they accept it for lifetime. Then consideration of professional ethics in teaching. As a member of the particular profession, the teacher must consider some ethics while teaching. So pedagogical belief is concerned with this aspect of teaching. Then self-confidence in teaching. The teacher must be self-controlled, self-regulated and self-motivated. Before motivating the student, the teacher must be self-motivated. He must motivate himself towards teaching. He must motivate towards the student and towards the teaching profession. Then favorable attitude towards teaching. Unless we have a favorable attitude towards our profession, we cannot devote ourselves, we cannot involve or we cannot commit ourselves to the particular profession. So, to be a good teacher, we must have a favorable attitude towards teaching, and pedagogical belief ensures or develop this kind of attitude in the teachers. So, through this discussion, we have discussed about the concept of pedagogy, which includes or which refers teaching as an art and science. That means teaching is a combination or integration of both theory and practical. It is the study of teaching method and aims. Then we have discussed about some key features of pedagogy, as it is a correct use of teaching method and instruction. It also refers to the profession of a teacher. It concerns with the professional ethics, commitment and accountability of the teacher. Then we have discussed about the different aspect of pedagogy, as pedagogical knowledge, pedagogical practice and pedagogical belief. The first one, pedagogical knowledge, is concerned with the knowledge aspect, which is concerned with the cognitive domain. Under this aspect, we have four sub-content or component. First is content knowledge, second is pedagogical content knowledge, third is evaluation of teaching learning, and fourth is professional knowledge of teacher. Then the second aspect of pedagogy is pedagogical practice, which includes the doing or skill aspect. That means it is related to the psychomotor domain of instructional objective. It includes lots of components which are basically concerned with the use of teaching aid, teaching method, teaching skill, as well as code of conduct. Then third one is pedagogical belief, which is concerned with the feeling aspect. That means it is the affective domain or under affective domain of instructional objective, and it includes the components like devotion in teaching, involvement, commitment, accountability, self-confidence in teaching among the teacher. So I hope with this discussion will help you to understand the concept of pedagogy in a better way and to help the aspect of pedagogy. So basically pedagogy is the process which helps the teacher to know and to make better use and correct use of the teaching method, skill, technique, tactics, strategies for a purposeful teaching learning process. Thank you.